Now we're going to make the filling for the apple raisin pie. I don't use my breadboard for cutting because I don't like to have the slashes in the wood. I have actually an old school desk here, and it has the pencil holder, and it has graffiti from the kids. We have Russ, 70. He signed it twice. There's Ronnie from 70. 1970 was a big year. Plus there was a pumpkin on it. So anyway, that's what I'm using for my cutting board. The apples we're using today are two varieties. I'm combining a tart apple, I'm using the Macintosh today, with a sweet apple, the Golden Delicious, and this is the Macintosh. I like the combination of the sweet and tart in the same pie. Now, despite all the explanations we did for apple peelers, we're not going to be peeling our apples today. All we're going to do is just slice them away from the core. Then we're going to slice them up and put them just like this into the pie. I find that using the peel gives a nice texture to the pie. And perhaps it's like potatoes, where the healthiest part is actually in the skin. I'm not sure about that, but it sounds good. You need about 3 cups of apples. We're going to be using a deep dish pie plates today, ceramic pie plates. And actually, they might take more than 3 cups. Down the middle. Why not? Let's see. Of course, these will condense as they cook. Getting more of the core in there than I wanted. Let's see. We'll take out the seeds. No one likes seeds. I had the apples. We're going to add the plumped up raisins. Now, let me check my recipe here. 1.5 cups of sugar. There is the 1. There is the 1/2. Now, some spices. Let's see what we've got. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. 1, 2. You know, when you think of fruit pies, it's true, the fruit itself is wonderful. But I think most people really like the butter and the cinnamon. Now, yes, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. Scant. Now, to thicken it, what we're going to do is we're going to use flour. And we're going to be using about a 1/4 cup of flour. This is tricky because depending on the fruit and depending on the season, whether it's been a wet season or a dry season, whether the fruit has a high moisture content or not, it's tricky to know exactly how much flour to put in. If you don't put enough flour, it's going to be very runny. I find that especially true in peach season, where the peaches really tend to run. One other thing, butter. Let me see exactly what we need for butter. A half cup of butter. This is not butter from our own cow. We're down to one cow, by the way. She is sitting on a satin pillow. She's never given milk. We bought her and her sister at a sale many, many years ago. They're both Guernsey Swiss mitzes of some kind. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to be mixing this. I have all the ingredients, the sugar, the butter, the spices, the flour, the apples, the raisins in here. I'm just going to be mixing them by hand. We went over to a livestock auction to get some girls that we could use for butter and cheese when we were really still trying to be completely self-sufficient. And we bought sisters, brought them back, never came into heat, never could breed them. We didn't know what was wrong. What happened was we paid, full retail value at the auction. Turns out that an unscrupulous dairyman, who would do this, right? An unscrupulous dairyman took these girls. It turns out that the second girl of twins usually is infertile. Well, that's what we had. We had 2 infertile girls. We bought them unknowingly, unwittingly, and they've just been basically walking lawn ornaments ever since. Now, the one sister died a number of years ago, and we're down to the one cow, still a virgin after all these years. Now, this is our apple raisin pie filling. We're going to set it aside. I'm going to clean my hands here. It's always good to have a pan of water nearby if there's no sink available. We can clean off like this. I want to go through our recipes briefly. Then we'll go back up and check the fire. What we're doing today, we're making a crumb cake. We're making black joe cake. We're making the apple raisin pie. We're making the shoe fly pie. We're making the whippy pies. And let me think. Let me check here. I think I've forgotten something. Let's see, I had a list with crumb cake. The cornbread. All right. Cornbread is the last thing we're going to be making. Well, not the last thing, but that's the last thing I'm mentioning we're going to be making. So, we have, I think there are about 5 different things. We've done just about all the prep work we can do for now. We're going to go back up and check on the fire, and then when we come back, we're going to have Christian actually show you how to make the pie crust. And then we're going to see how things go until we actually pull out the fire, cool off the oven. We'll show you how we judge the temperature, and the timing is right, and then we'll put in the bread. So let's go back on up to the bake oven. We're going to start taking the bread up. Fortunately, with our canopy, we can lay it out. And it should stay pretty dry under here. He said optimistically. You'll see our fire has died down considerably. We're going to add one more batch of wood to it to bring it up as much as possible, meaning to saturate the brits with as much heat as possible. On this cool day, the oven's going to be cooling off rather rapidly. So to give ourselves every benefit of the doubt, we're going to really heat the oven and hope for the best. you can feel an envelope of heat around the front of the oven. Obviously invisible, but very apparent to the touch. What that shows is that the Brits are starting to, they're not starting to, they actually are absorbing the heat. They have absorbed the heat, and it's radiating the heat forward. This is really what we're looking for, is this feel of the oven. There's also a particular smell after the oven's been heated for almost 2 hours now. There's a particular smell that only happens when the oven has reached a certain temperature. So between the smell and the feel and the look of the oven, what you'll see is that the Brits on top actually turn white. And that's something else to look for, is almost like a coating on the top that also helps indicate that the oven is approaching the time when it's ready and heated. So I'm going to add some more wood. This is a judgment call as to how much wood to put in. But I'm thinking that since we only have about 15 more minutes left, or 20, that we'll let this burn down and see what we've got. The flames follow the curve of the bake oven. They actually go into the flue at the back of the oven, then up and out the chimney.